The day I received my university acceptance letter, a message popped up on my phone.
Don't think getting into college will change your fate. A crow can never become a phoenix. You'll always be insignificant.
Without hesitation, I blocked the number. This person, claiming to be my biological mother, was truly relentless. 6 months ago, Mary Johnson added me on WeChat.
My dear child, you've suffered so much.
She told me she was my biological mother and that I was given away at birth because my grandmother preferred boys over girls. After all these years, she had finally found me and wanted to make amends. In my previous life, I believed her. She convinced me to change my college application, causing me to miss out on my preferred university.
It's for your own good, trust me.
I forgave her, persuading my adoptive mother not to hold her accountable. After the college entrance exams, she offered me a job as an assistant for a documentary crew.
This will be a great experience for you.
Trusting her again, I took the job, only to be deceived and taken to a remote mountain area. There, I was treated inhumanely and eventually sold to Myanmar. As I lay dying, I saw soldiers burst in.
Don't move. Everyone, get down.
Light seemed to filter into the makeshift operating room in the abandoned factory.
Alice Smith, hold on, we're taking you to the hospital.
The voice was comforting, but I could no longer hear it. In this new life, it's time to repay kindness and seek justice.
Mary Johnson, you and your daughter, who was swapped into a wealthy family, better be prepared this time around.
The night before Mary Johnson first contacted me, I was reborn. The tragic memories of my previous lives and still haunted me. I closed my eyes, curled up, and couldn't stop trembling, crying out loud. My mom, who had just returned from her night shift, rushed in and held me.
It's okay, Mommy's here. Did you have a nightmare?
Hearing her voice, I broke down even more.
Mom, I miss you so much.
Mommy's here. The police station has been busy lately. Have you become so attached to me after just a few extra shifts?
She comforted me continuously. The next day, I saw a message on WeChat. Alice, I am your biological mother, Mary Johnson. My dear, you've suffered so much.
Mom, you mentioned there have been many scams lately. Could this be one of them?
She took the phone, looked at it, and said,
Don't worry about this. I'll contact her. If it's true, I'll let you know. Now, go to school.
A week later, I received a call from an unknown number. As soon as I answered, a voice started yelling.
Alice Smith, you ungrateful child. How dare you not acknowledge your real mother and even report me to the police? You unfilial child, you.
Before she could finish, I hung up and blocked the number. That evening, I told my mom about the call.
I consulted a forensic artist who concluded that the likelihood of a blood relation was very low. I gave Mary Johnson a verbal warning not to disrupt your life.
Seeing Mary Johnson storm the stage at the 100-day countdown to the college entrance exams with a megaphone, I had underestimated her persistence.
Not recognizing your real mother, you heartless girl. Alice Smith from Class 1, you disgrace.
Her voice echoed through the megaphone until teachers and security pulled her away. All eyes were on me.
Alice Smith, who topped the mock exams, is such a person?
What's the use of good grades if you're heartless? She's a disgrace to society.
I heard people starting to talk. My mom shielded me and took me to the principal's office. After the police took Mary Johnson away, my mom used the school broadcast to announce that Mary Johnson was a fraud and that Alice Smith had only one mother, Sarah Johnson.
I haven't figured out Mary Johnson's motives yet. Be careful. Mike Brown will help protect you and will increase school security.
Both my mom and Mike Brown are low-key, so no one at school knew I had a board member stepfather. The college entrance exams came and went. I performed even better than in my previous life, but I still applied to the Capitol Film Academy's directing program, as being a director was always my dream. Unsurprisingly, I received the acceptance letter. Then Mary Johnson called again.
Don't think getting into college will change anything. A wild chicken can never become a phoenix. You're still worthless.
After blocking her, she immediately called from another number.
Alice. Even if you get into college, you'll struggle to find a job. I'm offering you a chance to be an assistant in a documentary filming crew. It's a great way to build connections and eventually become a director. This is a rare opportunity, and I'm telling you because I care about you. It's up to you to seize it.
You have some nerve. Care about me? Why don't you offer this great opportunity to Sophia Taylor? Isn't she your real daughter? And stop calling yourself my mom. You don't deserve it.
What nonsense are you talking about? Sophia Taylor is a wealthy heiress. Stop making things up.
But isn't this opportunity something Sophia Taylor told you about?
I hung up and changed my phone number. Looking back, their tactics were so clumsy. Yet in my previous life, I couldn't see through them and thought they were acting in my best interest.
This time, I'm going to expose them. Sophia Taylor, don't think you can hide in the shadows and scheme. Chapter.
Mary Johnson hung up the phone and immediately dialed another number. After a few rings, the call was answered.
Didn't I tell you to contact me less often? Do you want us both to get in trouble?
Sweetheart, Mommy had no choice. That girl somehow found out about you.
How is that possible? Her cop mom isn't that capable of tracing it back to me so quickly. Did you let something slip?
Mommy would never let anything slip. I'm doing everything to protect you. Even if they find out you're not their biological child, you've been with them for so long. If worse comes to worst, you could become their daughter-in-law instead of their daughter.
Shut up. I'll think of something else. You go back to the countryside and stay out of trouble.
Sophia hung up abruptly. Meanwhile, Alice's mother came home and took off her shoes.
Alice, Mary Johnson suddenly went back to her hometown yesterday. But you can't let your guard down. Mary Johnson has had a tough life. Her husband was unkind, and her mother-in-law favored boys over girls. She had 2 daughters who were given away. When she was expecting her 3rd child, she secretly found out it was another girl. On the way to the clinic, she ran away. It's true what they say. Bad people get their comeuppance. She ended up working as a cleaner at a maternity center but was fired for stealing. Last year, she suddenly came into some money, claiming she won a scratch-off lottery. Since then, she's been pestering you.
She has had a tough life. Did she have her 3rd child? How old would that child be now?
She said she gave birth in a restroom, but the baby didn't survive. If the child had lived, they would be about your age. John Brown just mentioned he wants to take you to the Taylor twins' coming-of-age party. Do you want to go?
Is that the Taylor Corporation that recently made it onto the emerging tech companies list?
Yes, they have twins. The son is James Taylor, and the daughter is Sophia Taylor. If you want to go, we can attend. You're all the same age.
Sure. Mom, you're right. It could be fun. It's time to meet Sophia Taylor.
Alice, if anyone gives you a hard time at the party, make sure to tell Uncle John. Your mom and Uncle John are not just your support but also your protectors.
If Alice hadn't been so insecure and had accepted her mom's love in her past life, maybe the tragedy wouldn't have happened. That evening, Alice received a package from the same city. Inside was an invitation to the Taylor twins' coming-of-age party, a gift and a card that read, "Don't you want to know your true origins? If you do, you'll find the answers at the party."
Look at this card. Let me tell you about how I adopted you. I had just started working when I responded to a call about a child crying in a slaughterhouse dog kennel. When I arrived, I found a baby being protected by a dog, not letting anyone get close. Surveillance footage showed the dog had brought the baby there that day. There was only one camera in the area, and apart from a diaper, there was no other evidence. So I adopted you.
Alice's mom has been searching for her biological parents ever since, but to no avail. But Alice didn't mind. Her mom was her only mom. Now she understood why she used to call her little puppy when she was a child. This package was clearly Sophia Taylor's doing. In Alice's past life, she overheard Mary Johnson saying she had placed her child in a wealthy family. Sophia Taylor must know about her origins now, and Mary Johnson must have told her a lot. Given her reaction, it's likely they were in a classic switched at birth scenario, or maybe she was deliberately leading Alice to think that way. Regardless, Alice was definitely going to this coming-of-age party. Before worrying about her origins, she needed to figure out why Sophia Taylor was targeting her. After Uncle John assured Alice's mom multiple times that he would ensure her safety, she finally agreed. She originally wanted to go with Alice, but something came up at the police station. Dressed in the gown and jewelry her mom prepared for her, Alice arrived at the hotel booked by the Taylors with Uncle John. The venue was elegant and refined, with guests mingling and toasting. Uncle John introduced her to his business partners and then found a seat for her, making sure to remind her.
"This is the VIP section. No one will bother you here. If you want to leave, just let me know."
"Uncle John, you go ahead. I'll be fine."
Not long after Alice sat down, Sophia Taylor and her friend approached her. This was her first time meeting Sophia Taylor in both lives. They sized each other up. Sophia Taylor's features did bear some resemblance to Mary Johnson's, especially her chin. She stared at Alice's eyes for a moment, then quickly recovered.
This is the VIP section. The kind of invitation you have doesn't grant you a seat here.
Sophia called a waiter over to have him find Alice another seat. Her friend chimed in.
"She looks like a country bumpkin. Probably her first time at such an event. Better eat up while you can, you won't get to enjoy such good food again."
The atmosphere in the room was tense as Alice faced off against Sophia and her friend.
"I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't have the right to. No need for you two to worry about it."
"I'm telling you to get lost. Don't you understand?"
"Isn't it Miss Taylor who's sitting where she shouldn't be?"
Alice stood up and stared directly into Sophia Taylor's eyes. Sophia's gaze wavered, and her friend stepped forward and gave Alice a shove. Alice sidestepped and sat back down.
"Alice, don't be ungrateful. I'm just kindly reminding you that this seat is reserved for the Brown Corporation."
Just then Mike Brown approached, holding a glass of wine.
"What's going on, Alice? Is this your new friend?"
"Uncle Mike, this is today's main guest, Miss Taylor."
"Miss Taylor, congratulations. Were you just discussing the seating arrangements? Alice came with me, so there's no problem with her sitting here."
Robert Taylor approached, adding to the conversation.
"Mr. Brown, you must be joking. You're the guest of honor today. You can sit wherever you like."
"I'm sorry, Uncle Mike."
James Taylor interrupted, his eyes fixed on Alice.
"Sophia, it's about to start. You should go get ready. Is this your friend? Aren't you going to introduce us?"
"Hello, I'm Alice Smith."
"Miss Smith, enjoy yourself. Uncle Mike, we need to go prepare."
James led his sister away, and Robert began to speak proudly of his children.
"Mr. Brown, today we're celebrating both of my children's graduation and coming-of-age ceremony. Sophia wants to be an actress and got into the H-City Film Academy. As parents, we didn't agree, but there's nothing we can do. James, on the other hand, doesn't want to study business to take over my mess. He insisted on going to Imperial College to study computer science. He got it on his own, so there's nothing I can do. Please, help me persuade them later.
Everyone congratulated Robert, praising his children.
Let the kids follow their own paths. We work hard as parents to support them. Our Alice got into the Capitol Film Academy to study directing. The kids know what they're doing.
Another businessman chimed in.
Oh, Mr. Brown, that's not easy to get into. We can't wait to celebrate her graduation.
Robert's face stiffened momentarily before he smiled.
Mr. Brown is right. Don't forget, we'll soon be celebrating Mr. Brown and Officer Smith's wedding. Ha!
The lights dimmed, and a spotlight focused on the stage on the second floor. James led Sophia onto the stage, and as the music started, they began their first dance. The atmosphere was harmonious.
Why do I feel like these siblings don't look much alike? They're fraternal twins. One takes after their father, the other after their mother. James does look like his mother, but Sophia doesn't really resemble Robert.
After the first dance, James played the violin while Sophia played the piano. Then Sophia took the microphone.
Thank you all for coming to our coming-of-age ceremony. For this next piece, I'd like to invite a friend to join me for a duet. Alice, let's play together. I've heard my father praise your piano skills.
All eyes turned to Alice as the spotlight focused on her. Mike Brown leaned in.
If you don't want to go up, you don't have to.
Alice shook her head slightly at Mike Brown, indicating that it was fine. She stood up and walked toward the stage as the background music began to play softly. Just as she was about to reach the stage, the music abruptly changed. Didn't I tell you? The scene was in an uproar. Many people were familiar with Sophia Taylor's voice. Though the conversation was brief, it was packed with information.
Sophia Taylor suddenly looked at Alice. Alice smiled slightly and turned to walk toward Mike Brown.
It was worth asking Mike to have someone add something to Mary Johnson's phone during the 100-day pledge conference. The effect was indeed remarkable.
The crowd was abuzz with speculation.
What's going on? How many mothers does Sophia Taylor have?
Judging by Mr. Taylor and Mrs. Taylor's expressions, they probably don't know either.
Rich families always have their dramas. Siblings becoming couples, it's really messy.
Robert Taylor stepped in to smooth things over.
Sorry, everyone. There's been a minor technical issue with the equipment. I'll handle it. Please continue to enjoy the food and drinks.
Many people took the opportunity to excuse themselves.
Mr. Taylor, you go ahead. Something urgent has come up at my company, so I'll take my leave. Let's get together another day.
Robert Taylor's face darkened, but he forced a smile and agreed. Mike Brown, taking Alice with him, also wanted to leave.
Stop, Alice Smith. You think you can just walk away after ruining everything? Dad, it's all Alice Smith's doing. You have to believe me.
Nonsense. Haven't you caused enough embarrassment?
Hearing this, the crowd lingered, eager for more drama.
Mike, don't be in such a hurry to leave. I find Alice quite familiar. Don't you want to get to the bottom of it?
What do you mean?
Just a simple DNA test will reveal everything. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some family matters to attend to. We don't want to take up any more of your time.
James, that's a bit disrespectful to Mike. Legally, Alice is already my daughter. She has parents and doesn't need to claim any other family.
Brother. We need to investigate her tampering with the audio.
Miss Taylor, be careful with your words. Without evidence, don't make baseless accusations. Actually, I shouldn't call you Miss Taylor, since it seems your parents might be someone else.
Alice, regardless, just take a DNA test to put my mind at ease. I always felt you looked familiar. Your eyes are so much like James's.
Indeed, not only James, but Alice's features also bore some resemblance to Laura Taylor. However, there was no need to get entangled with their family.
Alice, are you alright? I came as soon as I got Mike's call. How are you?
Mike Brown briefly explained the situation.
Officer Smith, you arrived just in time. I suspect Alice is my biological daughter. We need to do a DNA test.
Let's first investigate the tampered audio.
Collect evidence and investigate thoroughly.
Yes.
Then we can discuss the matter of lineage. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, you can take your daughter for a DNA test, but you need the consent of the other child's guardian. I am Alice Smith's guardian and I do not consent.
I heard you've been searching for Alice's biological relatives. This is an opportunity. Why not give it a try?
Alice, what do you think?
I don't think it's necessary. I already have the best mom in the world.
Alice, you always act so superior, getting everything you want. Why does the world revolve around you? Even when you do wrong, someone defends you. Mom, am I not good enough? Why did you abandon me? I'm also your daughter. It's bad enough that I can't compare to my brother, but now even an outsider gets this treatment.
Yo-yo, what nonsense are you talking about? When did I ever abandon you? Haven't I treated you well enough?
Sophia Taylor looked somewhat strange.
Mrs. Taylor, you should handle your family matters first. We'll be leaving now.
Mike Brown pulled Alice out the door. They waited in the car for Alice's mom to come out.
Mike, are you sure about the people you found? If Mom finds out, we're in trouble.
Relax, this is a piece of cake for me. But Alice, if you really are their biological daughter, what will you do?
In this life, I only recognize one mom, and that's Sarah Johnson.
And what about a dad?
That depends on how well you perform.
Ha ha ha, all right. At the wedding, I'll introduce you to a brother.
Mike Brown was interrupted by Alice's mom, who had just come out.
What are you two chatting about so happily?
We're talking about when Alice will start calling me Dad.
Stop joking around in front of the child. Alice, were you scared just now? Don't let them affect you. As long as you don't want to leave Mom, no one can take you away from me.
Thinking of her past life, Alice felt a tingle in her nose.
Mom, why are you so good to me?
Alice hugged her mom through the car window.
You're still acting like a child. Who else should I be good to if not you? You and Mike go home first. I'll handle this. Tonight, Mike will cook us a feast.
Alice increasingly felt that in her past life, she had been begging with a golden bowl. From a distance, Alice saw James Taylor sitting in the corner of the cafe. He had called her last night, suggesting they meet today. Though they weren't biological siblings, they could still try to be friends.
Is there something you wanted to talk about?
You're here. I'm really sorry about what happened at the coming-of-age ceremony.
If it's just an apology, we didn't need to meet in person.
Don't rush. I don't mean anything else. Let me tell you a story. I think you'll find it interesting.
Alice listened as James began his tale.
A little boy was always happy to have a sister. Even though their parents seemed to favor the sister, they always told the boy, "You're the man of the house, you need to protect your sister." And he always did.
James paused, seeing Alice's curiosity.
When they were young, the sister was indeed soft and adorable. But one day, while playing hide-and-seek, the boy overheard his sister crying and cursing in the study. I knew those old folks would leave everything to their son and nothing for me. Even though they raised me, do they know I'm not their biological child? Impossible. Why don't they just disappear?
What did he do?
The boy was terrified. His sister seemed possessed. Later, he found out that she had seen a draft of their grandfather's inheritance plan, which favored males over females. The grandfather had always insisted on making a will early to avoid disputes. He had asked a lawyer to draft an inheritance document for their father, but their father had never agreed to it or signed it.
Alice leaned in, intrigued by the story.
From that day on, the boy knew she wasn't really his sister. Gradually, she stopped being affectionate with their parents, though they still doted on her. The boy told his parents that his sister had changed, but they thought it was just adolescence. Until one day, their mother nearly suffocated due to a mango allergy. Fortunately, the housekeeper had forgotten something and returned home just in time to take her to the hospital.
That must have been terrifying.
After that, the boy guarded against such incidents while teaching himself computer science, hoping to create a system to find his real sister. Over the years, he clung to the few clues he had, experiencing countless moments of hope and disappointment.
Did he ever find her?
The boy believed his system wasn't perfect and wanted to continue studying computer science to improve it. Each improvement made him feel closer to finding his sister. Recently, he thinks he might have found her. Alice, what do you think? Will he be disappointed this time?
After hearing the story, everything made sense to Alice. She realized that Sophia Taylor had also come back earlier than her. But why did Sophia go to such lengths to harm her?
Alice?
All right, I'll agree to the test.
Thank you, Alice. Everything is ready, we just need a few strands of your hair.
Alice told her mom about it. Her mom was silent for a moment before agreeing.
I had a nightmare last night. I dreamt that I lost you and could never find you again. Alice, remember, no matter the result, you are my most precious treasure.
After hanging up, Alice was silent for a long time. James thought she was having second thoughts.
Alice? Are you okay?
Alice snapped out of it and gave James a few strands of her hair. The results came back quickly. They were not biological siblings, but cousins.
Alice, we're still family.
After he told Robert and Laura Taylor, they came to Alice's house. From Laura, Alice learned about her origins. She was the child of Laura's sister, who had refused an arranged marriage and eloped with a writer. They didn't have a wedding, and after getting pregnant, she lost contact with the family. No one knew why Alice was abandoned.
We've cherished her like a gem, and now you want to take her away.
Laura then took out a file and said it contained Alice's biological mother's belongings, which she wanted to give to her.
These are some assets from your biological mother. They should be handed over to you.
Thank you, but I have everything I need. My mom has given me so much love that these things are inconsequential to me.
They then mentioned Sophia Taylor, saying they planned to send her abroad for some experience.
If a child isn't well raised, sending them anywhere won't help. They still need proper education.
Robert agreed. After they left, Alice told her mom she wanted to meet Sophia.
If that's what you want, I support you.
Sophia quickly agreed to meet, saying she had some things to tell Alice as well.
Alice, you really are lucky.
Yes, and you seem quite unfortunate.
Don't be so smug. It seems you know quite a bit. But do you know that in the previous life, your police officer mom went mad looking for you? She was such a proud person, but because of you, her life fell apart. Her hair turned gray as she searched for you everywhere. People said she was crazy. Later, whenever I released a bit of information, saying someone had seen you somewhere, she would rush there like a fool.
Alice slapped Sophia's face, tears streaming down. Indeed, this wasn't her first time experiencing this cycle of rebirth.
So, how many times have you gone through this cycle?
Sophia Taylor was just about to answer when the phone rang, interrupting her.
Mom? What's wrong?
Shut up. Mary Johnson is your real mother, isn't she? You people are so ruthless, causing your sister's demise and now trying to drive your mother insane. Mary Johnson has confessed.
Why would I want to harm Mom? What are you talking about, brother?
Mom has fainted from anger and is at the district police station.
He hung up abruptly.
Alice, come over here. There's been a development in the Mary Johnson case.
Sophia and I exchanged glances and headed to the police station together. At the station, we learned about Mary Johnson's confession. According to her statement, she gave birth to Sophia at a maternity center. Realizing that taking the child back home would lead to a dead end, she saw an opportunity when a wealthy family moved in after childbirth and swapped the babies. Laura Taylor noticed the baby's bracelet was missing. Fearing exposure, Mary admitted to stealing the bracelet, and Laura, being kind-hearted, didn't pursue the matter. The maternity center, suspecting her of theft, dismissed her. After losing her job, Mary, who was malnourished and unable to produce milk, became frustrated with the baby's constant crying and covered its mouth. By the time she realized, the baby had already passed away.
The little boy will never find his sister now. He will never have hope again.
After this incident, Robert and Laura Taylor lost all hope in Sophia. Regardless of whether she had intentionally guided Mary, the facts remained that she had told Mary she wouldn't inherit the family fortune and that Laura was allergic to mangoes. No one dared to keep such a person in the family. The next day, Robert and Laura publicly severed ties with Sophia and introduced her biological parents. After leaving the family with nothing, Sophia persisted in her acting career. However, without the Taylor family's support, her treatment and resources were vastly different. But I had little time to focus on her, as my mom and Mike Brown's wedding was approaching. Since Mike learned of my aspiration to become a director, he frequently introduced me to producers and directors. His corporation also had several talent and advertising agencies offering me internship opportunities. Currently, I was the assistant director for their wedding, preparing diligently. The wedding proceeded as planned, with many guests teasing Mike.
He remained a bachelor for so long because he couldn't forget his first love.
A mature and steady man in a military uniform attended the wedding, delivering the rings.
Dad, Aunt Sarah, congratulations on your wedding.
You cheeky boy, next time you should call her mom.
This man was John Brown, the boy Mike had adopted. John's father, a close friend of Mike, had passed away on duty, and his mother shortly after from grief. Mike took John in, a well-known fact among many. Mike also used John as an excuse to avoid numerous blind dates.
Look at Mike, newly married and already with a son and daughter.
The guests, all close friends and family, seized the opportunity to tease him. After the wedding, I also started calling him Dad. After the guests left, I was checking the materials with the director when John suddenly shouted,
Alice, watch out.
He pushed the director and me aside, just as a heavy spotlight shattered at my feet. Amid the chaos, I couldn't shake the feeling that John's voice sounded familiar. I quickly checked on John and the director to ensure they were unharmed. Thankfully, everyone was just shaken, not injured. John inspected the broken spotlight's wiring and immediately called the police. Unexpectedly, this incident was orchestrated by Sophia. Shortly after her debut, she found a wealthy patron and used his money to bribe an electrician to tamper with the spotlight above the director's position. If it had hit, it would have caused severe injury or worse. Sophia nearly succeeded. The patron, fearing repercussions from Mike, fled early. Sophia was arrested and sentenced for intentional harm. Back home, my mom meticulously checked me for injuries, only relaxing once she was sure I was unharmed.
Alice, this is the brother I mentioned before.
I blushed and lowered my head.
Don't tease Alice like that.
I'm not teasing. They aren't related by blood, and Alice's household registration was moved out when she turned 18. I think they make a great pair.
People will laugh at you. Siblings can't marry. John and Alice are free to love whomever they choose. You can't meddle in their affairs.
I looked up to see John standing there with red ears, which was quite amusing.
All right, I won't interfere. I'll listen to my wife.
After the wedding, Mike seized every opportunity to show affection. The next time I saw Sophia was at the detention center. Sophia Taylor looked quite haggard.
Alice Smith, you're here to laugh at me, aren't you? Leaning closer to the glass, smiling, you really make people jealous. Do you know what I had to trade to debut? Do you know how I've been getting by all this time? It's all thanks to you. If only you had obediently disappeared like in the previous life.
I'm not interested in hearing any of this. Sophia, in the first life, I should have been recognized as the true daughter and returned to the Taylor family, right? Seeing Sophia's reaction, I knew I had guessed correctly.
That's right. Dad announced in the papers that he had found his biological daughter. Although they told the public that there were triplets and now they've found one, no one believed it. You and James Taylor look alike, and you resemble Mom too. As for me, everyone said I was fake. At first, they believed I was the real daughter. I told Mom and Dad it wasn't fair. Why were they so good to you? They supported you in becoming a director, letting you make movies whenever you wanted. But when I wanted to act, they said I was bringing shame to the Taylor family.
No matter how much Sophia protested, no one cared, until James gave her a paternity test.
Turns out, I was the clown. Mary Johnson also found me, constantly asking for money to support her family. But it didn't matter as long as I was still in the Taylor family. Until I saw Dad's will. To compensate you, he wanted to give you the house and shares, and the company to James. All I got were some worthless jewelry and cash, even though you had the Brown family supporting you. I needed the money more. I was unwilling.
You're ridiculous. Aunt Taylor recently gave me the property deed and some shares. Those were left by my biological mother, not the Taylor family's assets. You're just a lunatic. So, you always thought I was their biological daughter? To prevent me from returning to the Taylor family, you took action in the second life to get rid of me?
I thought if you were gone, there would be no real or fake daughter issue. The Taylor family would only have one daughter and me. But why did James still work on his search system? Oh right, in the second life, James found you. He thought he had found his real sister, but it was after you were gone. Do you know how devastated he was? He was a completely different person from the one who warned me with the paternity test. Her smile both mocking and bitter. It's a pity that after you were gone, the Brown family found Mary Johnson and me, exposing everything to Dad. He believed you were his real daughter, and I, the imposter, had harmed his real daughter. He personally sent me to prison. Do you know? I spent my whole life in prison.
Even so, in the third life, you still wanted to get rid of me?
Shortly after the third rebirth, I saw the will agreement about the property distribution. Although it hadn't been signed yet, everything was still going to James, and I got nothing. Before dealing with you, I had to sort out my family matters.
So you contacted Mary Johnson early on, using money to control her. She knew without the Taylor family, there would be no money. So when she found out everything was going to James, she became even more furious. You deliberately leaked Aunt Taylor's mango allergy to her. You wanted to act before the will took effect.
But do you have any evidence? Continuing, later, that will was never signed. Soon, it was time to deal with you. Your adoptive mother protected you too well. Mary Johnson never found a chance to get close to you until after the college entrance exams. When Mary Johnson was investigated, I knew you had also been reborn. If it weren't for that fool Mary Johnson contacting me recklessly, things wouldn't have gone wrong at the coming-of-age ceremony. We've come to this point.
You've brought this upon yourself. Aunt Taylor and the others knew you weren't their biological daughter, but they treated you as their own. Giving everything to their son was Mr. Taylor's decision. Aunt Taylor and the others never agreed. You didn't know any of this. You're truly pitiful. pitiful in every life.
Get out. I don't need your pity. Turning and telling the guard she wanted to write a letter to her parents, asking for their forgiveness.
Ignoring Sophia, Alice turned to leave. As Alice stepped out of the detention center, she let out a long breath, feeling as if she had relived the past 2 lives, thinking of James Taylor, who had spent 3 lifetimes searching for his sister only to end up empty-handed, that little boy who faced countless disappointments.
Alice, why are you sighing like an old lady, leaning against the car door, teasing?
At that moment, Alice seemed to realize who had saved her in the previous life.
John, thank you. Let's go home. Mom and Dad are waiting for us, smiling and taking his arm.
Feeling his muscles tense up instantly.
It's nothing. Let's go. I'll take you home. You'll have plenty of reasons to thank me in the future. His ears turning red with pride.
I suddenly think Dad's suggestion is quite good.
What did you just say? Fastening his seatbelt.
Guess, looking out the window.
Alice, turning to her, you'll admit it sooner or later.
Admit what?
Guess, mimicking her tone as he drove off.